Hey, welcome back again, everybody, to the Murphy Table. We're continuing our talk about Operation Barbarossa, the World War II game from Zvezda, based on their Art of Tactics series. I'm going to move this out of the way. So, last time we talked a little bit about why I wanted to get the game. We talked about the models versus the kind of board game style models that you get with like Tide of Iron. I love the model kits. In fact, I mean, this is so great. Zoom in here. The game is awesome because it comes with these nice, not only tank models, but it comes with these great infantry models too that also have an incredible amount of detail. There's actually like four engineers that come on this Pioneer kit, but one of them was a duplicate Minesweeper guy, so I just took him off so the stand didn't look so crowded. But I think this is great. He's got wire cutters, there's your flamethrower guy, and this is awesome because these work perfect with any other scale model war game you're using, because I think I'm going to purchase flamethrower unit for my battle group curse guys. But why the disparity here in scale? You know, these men are definitely larger than the tank scale. So this was one of the considerations I had to make when I was deciding on getting into Art of Tactic versus Tide of Iron. The vehicles and men are not in scale with one another. So the tanks vehicles come in like the the 15 millimeter scale, which I think is 1/100th scale, and then all of the infantry based stuff comes in the 20 millimeter scale. And you know, that kind of bothered me a little bit. I mean, I'm okay, it's a board game, but it would be very difficult to take these from the board and put them into a miniature table and play. So it was a decision that I had to say, you know, I'm okay with it, because it was interesting. I read an article by the creator here. Show you his name. Oh, well, I'm zoomed in too much. But Konstantin, there he is. Konstantin Kravenko. And I'm paraphrasing the interview, but basically they asked him, why'd you go with the scales? And he said mostly it was because he liked the scales. Two, they were already making models in these scales, so they didn't want to have to retool everything. It was nice. Just use what we have. So, great answer. And he said that the scale of the tanks is good because they're big enough you can still see a lot of the detail, which these are. I mean, there's the panel, I mean, these are great panel lines, the little doohickeys and attachments. So they're big enough that you can tell what they are, you can see details, you can paint them up, great. Then the infantry, 15 millimeter infantry is a lot smaller. You can paint them up to make them look prettier, but at this scale they are easier to paint and to see the little details on the people. So those were like his big arguments, you know, it was just easier to see and use. So when you think out from that way, and it is a board game, I was like, okay, I can deal with that. And then aircraft, because the game came with aircraft, they're in a different scale. They're in, I believe this is the 1/44 scale, so a little bit smaller scale even. But it all fits, and when you put them all on the board together, it just makes sense. So I'm okay with the mixed scale for this game. But the problem I ran into, though, the mixed scale, let's zoom out here. The problem with the mixed scale, and I'll just show you how it looks. So tanks fit, great. So you make them a little smaller, they fit better. Infantry, being bigger, they fit they fit fine. They come on a base. Like here's just a regular infantry, and they look good. Put several guys on there. You know, that's your squad. A little flag to mark what unit it is. A little base you can decorate up. So it fits. The problem is when you look at this game and you compare this with Tide of Iron. I'm just saying that seems to be the one we compare with. The scale of play is different. When I first saw this game, I honestly thought that this was going to be a tactical game where, you know, this is a squad, this is a tank, and what led me to think of that is when you look at their model kits, that's what they're sold as. Here's a German Pioneer squad, here's a German infantry squad, and here's a Russian T-34 tank. So that led me to think that these were one-to-one a 1-to-1. One man is one man kind of a thing. And then when you put them here on the map and they move like, 2 hexes is a move, tank moves like maybe 3 hexes, it just, something seemed really out of whack. And I really noticed this when I was looking at the Stalingrad expansions. That's when I started looking at this game. So Tide of Iron has a Stalingrad expansion, and a Stalingrad expansion just came out for Art of Tactic. Now with the Tide of Iron, their Stalingrad, it's definitely kind of that tactical squad level feel, because you're in the city streets, you can go into buildings, they have boards set aside for multi-story level combat, like everything that I would expect of Kursk is there. It's wonderful. I'm flipping through this box for a second because I want to see. And then when they were showing like the back of the box for the Kursk for the Stalingrad expansion for Barbarossa here, the Art of Tactic, this is what it looked like. You'd have like maybe some infantry, there was like a tank out here, and I'm like, wait a minute, so your Stalingrad expansion for Art of Tactic, this is how I'm going to replicate that tense urban building to building combat that I associate with Stalingrad, is just a hex for the city, and then here comes a tank. And that's when it struck me, this is not a tactical level game. So I might be slow to the party, but wow, that was a big shocker to me. This is not a tactical level game. These are not squads. So I went to the Stalingrad forum for the Stalingrad expansion. I don't have a Stalingrad expansion, but I just went to their forum and I asked, well, what is the scale of this game? Because it just didn't look right. So the answer I got back from the Zvezda customer service says 1 hex is 350 meters. So I was trying to find the Tide of Iron scale and I couldn't find that. So if somebody knows, you can share that. But they're on a different scale because they're working more in line with like a squad level game. So their hexes are 350 meters. The vehicle units are platoons. So these actually represent approximately 3 units. And when you look at the stat block, see, and I should have known this, the stat block shows for like your morale there, essentially three tanks. Now you would say, well, Eddie, that should have told you that this was 3 tanks. Well, what it told me was this tank had 3 hit points, and as it takes damage, its combat effectiveness drops. And the men, when you're looking at infantry, well, let's talk about infantry. Infantry, that one little stand you're looking at, let me find my infantry. That's a command unit. Hold on. Nope, mortar team, machine gun, infantry. Okay, so if you're going by that, like 1-to-1, well, see, look, your infantry shows 5 figures for casualties. So that would tell me that this was a squad as well. So it turns out that your infantry stand, this represents approximately 100 men. This is a company. So your vehicles are platoon size. This represents multiple vehicles. And then this represents approximately 100 men. That would take this out of a tactical level game beyond squads and into, now you're dealing with battalions. When you have several companies, you're dealing with battalions at that point. This is a completely different scale than Tide of Iron, and that's where I stopped comparing the two. It's a different game. And then that made these unit cards make sense as to why there is 1 unit card per vehicle. So I said as much of a, well, vehicle or infantry, but that's why these cards are even more important, because you're not plotting orders that execute in seconds or minutes. This could take an hour. Excuse me. So this is giving commands to 100 men that takes time to coordinate their movement, and therefore that's why you plot everything. this game moves and plays at a completely different pace and scale than all those other tactical level games like Tide of Iron. That's another reason I went with this. This is playing at a different level, and I don't have a whole lot of company games. I have a lot of tactical games already. So instead of just getting more of the same, I thought, this does offer a different gaming experience once you understand this is not a tactical game. So when this tank only moves 3 hexes, well, that's 1,000 meters. Well, because 350 plus 350 is 700, and then you add 3. So 1,050 meters. That kind of makes sense. Now you might say, but Eddie, if the thing I didn't get was what's the time scale? Like one turn is 20 minutes or something. Yeah, a tank could move very, very far in that 20 minutes time period. But again, you're talking about coordinating the movement of a platoon. And that's why the game plays well when you have maybe 3 tanks and some infantry and your mortar and a machine gun. Smaller games is because you are moving around lots of troops. But if you want to play large games, then that's why the sheet is even more important, because a sheet like this is going to let you manage your battalions. Yeah. So this is a large scale battle game if you get yourself the right tools. So just keep that in mind. If you are looking at this game, look at it from the perspective of what it is and not what you think it is, unless that's what you thought it was. If you already thought this was a company level game, then I think you're okay. then you've made a good decision. But if you were riding the fence, or if you've played it before, because see, when I first played the game, I was thinking of it from a squad level perspective, and things just looked completely out of whack, because I'm a big fan of figure scale to terrain scale. So once I've learned that the terrain scale makes sense now, the game clicked, and I was able to play it and enjoy it for what it is. So I hope maybe that will help answer questions that you've had about the game. What I'll do here, we're gonna take a break from this one more time, and when we come back, I'll do my final talk. What can you do to make your gaming experience better? We've already talked about replacing your card. Well, not replacing your cards, but using your cards more as reference and tracking your units here. But I have a couple other things to talk about that will help your enjoyment of the game out of the box. Pick up a couple extra things, and it'll make the gameplay experience better. So if you have any questions or comments about what we've discussed, go ahead and share them, and we'll keep the conversation going. If you enjoy the game, what did you enjoy about it? If you don't enjoy the game, what didn't you enjoy? And then let's just, I really didn't have anything. I thought I had something clever to say, but I didn't. So I'll end it there. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.